just sit by the ocean and like not eat, you know, and I would just say like if there's anyone out there, please help me. There has to be another way, and I need to get out of this. Like this is horrible.
After graduating from NYU Stern, Jake Elias found himself alone in a new city, recently fired from 3 different jobs. How did Jake start his own firm poaching software developers from Google, Uber, and Facebook?
So I graduated a semester early in that December 2015, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go out to Colorado and ski. And I became a ski instructor in Colorado for 3 months.
What made you think that I want to become a ski instructor?
It was a growing experience, a learning experience. I remember I got fired.
Really?
I didn't really treat it like a real job.
And now you officially graduate.
Went back home September 1st. And that was really a really depressing experience for me, I think. And I will say, and I'm not embarrassed to talk about it, like at that point in my life, I was depressed. You know, I moved back home. I remember my mom, she was like, you know, she gave me a hug and she said, welcome home. And I really felt so sad in that moment. You know, she wasn't trying to be malicious or anything, but like, I just kind of felt like I didn't get a job, I'm moving back home, I have no money. I was like embarrassed in a way, so I didn't really want to talk to a lot of friends because like,
they'd be like, oh, what are you up to?
Yeah, and I didn't like when people were asking me questions.
Right.
And I hated even going to synagogue and having all these parents ask me questions. You know, just sitting there and like people are interrogating you. Because I just felt so uncomfortable. So yeah, I was interviewing. It was a recruiting position, like a headhunting position, with a boutique like recruitment firm in LA.
Just another random.
It was
job
on NYU's.
It was on
NYU's job board.
Meaning you were applying for jobs in all different industries.
I literally was applying to millions of jobs.
It happens to be that this one was in recruiting.
Yeah, but I took a job out in LA, and then they flew me out. You know, they were looking to hire like a junior recruiter. The job didn't pay anything. It literally paid $35,000. It was like a 6-month time period that I worked there.
What were you doing exactly?
I was recruiting engineers from like Google, Uber, Facebook, etc., to work at high-frequency trading hedge funds.
You worked there for 6 months.
Yeah, and then I got fired.
Now you get fired.
Mm-hmm.
Now what?
I was in LA. I didn't want to tell my parents I got fired because I was embarrassed, and I was like, I just moved out here. It's been 6 months, and like I felt good. Essentially, then I was just applying to a bunch of random jobs. It was another recruiting firm that my old boss poached a recruiter from, so they wanted to get back at him. So when I applied, they were like, let's hire this guy. So it wasn't even for my own merit. Like they were just like using me to get back at my old boss.
And you didn't care?
I didn't care. No, I just needed a job.
Yeah.
You know, but it was very corporate. They had offices in Australia, in New York, in LA, in Chicago, in London, in Hong Kong. And it was like a corporate recruitment firm. This place, you had to work 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. They only paid you 9 to 5, but they like made it normal to be there 7 to 7. They tracked your call times. They tracked every single little thing you were doing. Like you were I felt like a lab rat. You know, it amazes me that people could do that for 40 years. You know, you had to punch in and punch out for lunch. You got an hour, but like usually I would just punch out, grab like a banana or avocado or like a piece of toast or something, walk 6 blocks to Ocean Boulevard, to the boardwalk, and just sit by the ocean and like not eat, you know, and I would just say like, if there's anyone out there, please help me. There has to be another way, and I need to get out of this. Like this is horrible. And like I think I was at a point where like I realized that like sitting with these colleagues who, when they got there in the morning, all they would do was talk about what they wanted for lunch. And then after lunch, they got so tired and stuff, and then all they're doing is talking about what they're gonna do after work, which is like smoking, drinking, eating, or girls. And I was just like, these people are literally only living for distraction, but they're not present during what actually matters. And there was a 12-week training program at this company, and I just treated it like I was just like, I'm gonna be a sponge. I'm gonna learn as much as I can, because you still got paid during these 12 weeks.
Right.
I'm gonna interview senior people at the company, and I'm gonna figure out what I wanna do. I wanna say this too.
Yeah.
When I would interview all these senior people at the company, I would ask them, why don't you just do this on your own, okay? Why are you giving 60, 70, 80%? Some of them are earning maybe 50-50. Most of them are giving 60% to 80% of their commission away to this faceless corporate entity. So I would say to them, why don't you just do this on your own? You have your own clients, you know how to do the job.
Right.
Why don't you just do this on your own? And they would say to me things like, well, it wouldn't be social if I was just doing this by myself in like a WeWork or home all day. Or they would say like, I wouldn't be disciplined enough actually. And I immediately just said to myself, this is total BS. Like if I actually apply myself and like focus and don't get distracted.
Because they're not even saying that the company is doing anything for them. So you realized, if I don't need the house, I can do it myself. If I'm disciplined, you can be disciplined.
Exactly, yeah. I think it spoke to there was like a larger cycle I was trying to avoid. You know, I remember growing up in Great Neck and commuting, like anytime I was on the train, like going to or from the city, there were just all these like really sad looking people who would just looked like they were just like going to and from work and like they really didn't want to be, and like just like kind of commuting. And like I think I always my whole life just had like an existential fear of like that happening to me.
Right.
Just like
you didn't want to get stuck in that.
In like the rat race.
In the rat race of the 9 to 5.
In the 9 to 5, mortgage, tuition, you know, and just being forced to like do a job that you don't like because like, you can't quit. So like, I think you could even say my life up to this point has been just like me taking steps to just
not be
eliminate the possibility that ever happens.
To not be that person on the subway who said commuting to work.
Yeah, and even though he might have a nice house in the suburbs or whatever, like
it's not worth it.
He's in debt. He has a mortgage.
Right.
You know, like I proactively like never ever wanted to be in that boat, just because like I just value like my own freedom and independence and being in control of my time. Like I think being in control of my time is more valuable than anything else.
That transition. So now you quit, you say, I never want to do that, and I'm trying as hard as I can to not be that guy, and you realize I'm not going to get stuck in this rat race. I now know enough that I can do this on my own.
You know, I just went for it. I started my own company.
How did you start your own company?
So I was just, this was December, right before the holidays, and I was just really just like hustling, just, you know, talking to friends in LA, you know, people I was connected with on LinkedIn, just like trying to find anyone that was hiring, you know, like hitting up companies behind job postings, things like that. And I think my first client was basically one of my best friends at the time. Her friend was working at this company in LA who was like looking for engineers, and it came up that like I was starting a recruiting company, so like she referred me to her boss, who was like the hiring manager. Yeah, I just made a placement with them, so that was a big deal for me. And then, you know, I think I made another placement in April and another one in May.
All with the same employer?
All with the same employer.
All the same
Those
employer.
were all with the same employer. And I actually,
because he was looking to hire a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I still work with that company today. So that was my first client. And then from that, I kind of built out a base of other clients. But it really all started with that. So I made a placement with another company, and then I'll never forget this. This was just kind of like, I don't want to say luck. I want to say like divine intervention. I messaged someone from a company that I was like trying to headhunt, and it was like a hedge fund, and it turns out it was a CEO. So like then I realized that like his hedge fund, I always saw it in my building because I was working in the WeWork. Like they were one of the major tenants. So I was like, hey, I think we work in the same building. Do you want to like grab a coffee? And he was like, sure. You know, he's like really open and nice about it. So like we had a nice 15-30 minute coffee chat. I got coffee, whatever. Not that he needed me to get him coffee.
Right.
You know, we went to Starbucks, and then I was just like, hey, like if I have a resume, like can I maybe run it by you? And he was like, sure, of course you can. And I ran a resume by him, one resume, and just like confidently said like, okay, these are our terms, and it was like pretty high terms. And it ended up being like, I don't want to say the exact amount, but like probably like the biggest check I've ever got.
Wow. And
like I think it was like that. It's in itself was like half of what I earned, you know, that year. And it was just like, so like that was really in my mind like just like God like just giving me an assist. I'll say this: I am doing now far and away better than I would have done if I went into investment banking. That's what I'll say.
Right.
You know, I'll say my first year in business, I probably earned a banker's salary. And since then, I've been far exceeding that. You know, probably working half as much or so on.
Do you have employees?
So it ranges. You know, I'd say at one time we probably had like, you know, probably like close to 10. Right now, probably just a few. It ranges just on like how much work there is to be done, and like what's going on in their lives.
How many clients do you have?
I would say stable, steady clients probably around like 5.
But they're always hiring.
For the most part, yeah.
So do you go to like colleges?
No. The thing with my job is that no one I've ever placed, with one or two exceptions, was actually looking for a new job. You know, if I reach out to someone about an opportunity and they're just like, okay, I'm super interested, here's my resume, when can they interview me? I'm just like, this guy's weird, like something's wrong here, you know, if they're like, you know what, I'm not really looking, but you know, we can chat. Or if they're like, no thank you, or like if they're
you
just
like the guy that says no thank you.
Well, they're typically the better candidate,
right?
Almost without fail, because the best candidates, the best engineers are those that are well paid and happily employed.
How many people have you placed?
That's a good question. I don't think I know exactly.
What is typically the percentage of, is it like first year salary?
Mm-hmm.
So what is that normally?
I would say it could be 10 to 30. Industry average is probably 20.
What would you say is your day-to-day?
Probably spend an hour or so on my to-do list, just kind of like following up with people, making sure everything is going smoothly, any to-do items that I need to do. I probably have like anywhere from 2 to 8 just like phone screens a day. Just like, hey, how are you? Okay, you know, thanks for sending your resume over. So telling them a little bit more about the position, you know, making sure they're aligned with the position budget and that they could commute to the position's location, and just that like they're a normal person, you know. So just like sometimes it takes a few minutes, sometimes it takes 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is. Maybe a couple calls with clients, just like calibrating on whatever issues or offers we need to do. Probably spending 2 to 4 hours a day just like searching for candidates and messaging and following up with the candidates, and then spending some more time maybe just like helping out or talking to the contractors, and that's really it.
So basically you need to be very good at figuring someone out in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, I could tell within 2-3 minutes if like this person is just a complete waste of time, or if they're going to be like a good candidate. And I can't always tell how they're going to do technically, because I'm not technical. I've never written a line of code, but I could tell if they're like someone that like will be like honorable and truthful, like,
which is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And
like I'll say it like this: like, if you connect with the person, you want to work with them, But if you guys don't get along, or you should like. I only work with people that I want to work with. My friends make fun of me, but I'm obsessed with birds. I really love birds. And there's also a sparrow nest right by my room, and I just really thought they were really cute. Probably any company I start will be a bird name. Yeah.
I want you to give one piece of advice. One thing. Someone comes to you.
Yeah, good question. Don't waste time and energy on things that aren't important and things that are harmful to you.
Right.
And I really think, especially in like hyper competitive communities like the ones that you and I are from, it's easier said than done, because there's so much pressure just to be like, oh, he got that really good job at that bank, I need to one-up him and get an even better job, so that when my parents go to synagogue, they could impress everyone else with the job I got at Goldman Sachs. But I think that the biggest change for me occurred when I completely just liberated myself from that mindset, and it was just like, I don't care what other people think, I don't care what other people say, I am very happy for them. You have to come to a point where you're genuinely are very happy for other people, but just be comfortable doing your own thing. I think it is very ironic, because I went to NYU Stern. While I didn't work in investment banking, my junior year, I did OCR, I did recruitment. I probably interviewed for hundreds of jobs, and I could not get one. You know that guy like Jack Ma? He freaking interviewed for KFC and got rejected. I felt like him. I literally could not get any job. The only job I got wouldn't even pay me. Even my dad fired me. Even my ski instructors fired me. And I just think it's ironic.
You got fired like 3 times.
I got fired many times, yeah. And I always disagreed with my managers. I wasn't able to ever hold down a job. But I think it's ironic, and I really do believe that you could call it karma, you could call it God, whatever. Like, I couldn't find a job, and now I'm finding other people jobs, and I'm quite good at it. And I've helped people and changed lives by finding them jobs. So I think there's a certain irony there. Like, I think everything kind of came full circle. You know, I was so frustrated about my inability to find a job for myself, and by finding other people jobs, I found a job. And I think there's a valuable lesson there that, like, if you're looking for something really badly, just try to like help someone else find that thing, and like it'll come to you. You know, so you can't really want things too much. But you know, I always thought I think it's funny sometimes. Sometimes I'm just like coaching this person on how to interview and how to get a job. I couldn't even get a job.
Right.
You know, and I still really
they don't have to know that.
Yeah, they don't have to know that.